100.7 KSLX. All right, it's 9 o'clock straight up.
I had the under, by the way.
Yeah.
But it's going to happen. The tears are going to flow.
Probably.
Yeah.
Paul's going to say something, then I'm going to say something, and I promise I'll be quick. 45 minutes.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Is all I need.
Yeah, this will be one of the few times where Mark says more than I do during a break. So,
what did you want to say?
I just, look, there's, first to the company, thank you for allowing us to end this thing with some class and some dignity, none of which we deserve. Thank you to Guido for being here and producing it. Thanks to our program director, Dave, for not getting in the way and letting us do our show the way we wanted to do it. You gave us some ground rules to follow, and we did it. And we did what they said couldn't be done. This has been a very successful show. A lot of people said Mark and I wouldn't work together because we're two totally different people. And he sat down with me the first day over a cup of coffee at a diner in Chandler and said, like, the first thing he says to me is, look, we don't have to be friends to make this work. And I am proud to say he couldn't have been more wrong, because we are. He's a great friend, and he has made me better at doing this over the past 8 years. So thank you to Mark for making the Mark and Neanderpaul show work. It was great. I said there was never a pitch that anybody could throw at us that we couldn't hit, and we hit them all.
Yep.
And that's it. Because I got to come back to work on Monday.
Exactly.
And if I cry like a girl now, I'll never hear the end of it.
Yeah, well, it's probably coming. So,
no, it's already started.
Yeah, for me, this all started like 1981 at SUNY Brockport, 89.1 WBSU. There are actually some people that I work with back there listening right now. So because this might be the last time I ever speak into a microphone for a radio show, I want to thank a lot of people, and I'm going to start right here in the studio with Paul Marshall, who's sitting across from me, who's been here with me for the last 8 years. We didn't know each other when the show started, and here we are. We're ending currently at number one. These things are fluid, keep in mind, but currently at number one in morning shows in the market. The on-air chemistry I thought was amazing. Rapid fire, lightning in a bottle, as they say. We haven't always agreed on things, but every disagreement was about making the show better. And I thank Paul for his very gracious post also on Facebook about 6 weeks ago when I announced my retirement. Thanks to our producer Guido, who is over here in the studio for all his work behind the scenes and his work on the air as the library man, which I always enjoyed. Thanks to Trip Reeb and David Moore, our KSLX management team, I guess, or part of our management team. When I told them in October that I was going to retire, they made me feel very wanted. They really tried everything to get me to stay. And it's really difficult to turn down people who you like, who you respect, and who you enjoy working with. But I had to turn them down. Although I will always wonder how much money I could have squeezed out of Trent.
A few bucks.
Would have taken you a while.
I'm leaving some stuff on the table, I know. But I am so grateful and very proud that they trusted me enough and trusted us enough to allow me to leave like this, to be honest with listeners, instead of the usual radio thing where your favorite show vanishes. So I am glad to be part of KSLX, showing listeners the respect they deserve, and I think it will pay off for KSLX because nobody does that. Thanks also to my good friend and colleague of many years and the greatest radio salesman ever, Mr. Bob Weaver, who's over here. Thanks to Susan Karras, the entire sales staff. Many of you are here in the studio, and I really appreciate that. The digital team, administration, engineering, our promotions team, everybody who has helped that. And thanks to my fellow air staff members, Mike Abad, Karen D'Alessandro's here, Brian Curate, Russ Egan is right over here to my right. I appreciate you being here, guys. I really do. Thank you to Soldier's Best Friend, Military Assistance Mission, St. Mary's Food Bank. Who else? Oh, Steve Reynolds, Monica Nelson, Rob Hunter. You all have a special place with me. American Legion Post 117. Thanks to the Earnhardt Auto Centers, Arizona Window and Door Store, Fitzmaurice Hand Institute, all my other endorsees over the years. All right. So my wife and I also want to thank all the great friends we've made here in Arizona. True friends. They haven't even hit me up for tickets yet, which is kind of amazing. And thanks to our friends back east also, my Baldwin boys, everybody. So listen, seriously, deciding to retire was a very difficult choice for me, a very difficult decision because there's still so much that I love about this job. I really do. But at a certain point, I realized that whenever I was going to retire, I would have the same doubts and the same fears that I have now. So I figured I should do it while I'm young enough to enjoy it. And my wife felt the same way. So let's see. I guess I would rather retire at the top of my game than be the guy who stayed for too long. And with the success that this show has had over the years, the fact that we're the highest rated, I said that already, the fact that we're the highest rated show in the market right now, I think I'm doing that. But I will really miss being part of this community, the full-time radio community. I will miss that very much. I think everybody fears not being part of the action anymore. So it's a real fear. But there are many reasons I'm retiring, but the big one is time. You know, my dad is gone, but my mom's still here. My mother-in-law is still around. I'm not crying because my mother-in-law is still around.
It's probably a good idea to mention that. They're listening. Good idea. Good call, Mark. Pro to the end.
Babe, what would your mom say about that? What? Exactly. I have a brother and a sister who I love. I have brothers and sisters-in-law, all who I love. And my wife and I want to be part of their lives instead of just an occasional visitor to their lives. My wife and I want to be free to see our son and our daughter whenever we feel like it. I'm lucky enough to have my daughter and my son here today, so they get a big thank you, too. The main reason I'm retiring is that I still feel like I can't get enough time with my wife. And I'm lucky to feel that way. I'm luckier to have her feel the same way. So she gets a big thank you also. She is everything. She is everything my life is built around. 35 years married, 41 years together. She's also retiring after her great career. And this was a joint decision. I call my wife my voucher. Because wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, whatever situation I'm in, if she's with me, I belong there. We had an interesting conversation with a guy about 10 years ago in California. We were on a road trip, and he said, you know, guys, time is the ultimate wealth. He had retired already, so we are finally listening to him. I've told many of you on the air, you know, folks who are listening, I've told you about my buddy Lee, who passed away in 2019. He was 58 years old. About 8 months ago, I got a text from his wife, and she asked how Rose and I were doing. And I said, we're doing pretty good, but we're contemplating retiring, but we might chicken out and keep working. And she texted back this message. She said, don't you dare chicken out on retirement. I'm checking things off the bucket list that Lee and I put together, but I'm doing it alone. So she said, retire and enjoy the adventures together. So we are listening to her. Let me reiterate again my thanks to Paul and Guido, Dave, Tripp, everybody here. I also need to thank my first partner, who sadly is no longer with us. He's the guy I paid a lot of dues with and who I made my name with here in Phoenix for 16 years on the Tim and Mark Show, Tim Scott. And lastly, my biggest thank you, that is to you, the listener. I am very lucky. I got to do my dream job twice in a big-time setting. Thanks to you for that. I want to thank you so much for getting it, for understanding the spin I was putting on things. You, the listener, are the reason I was able to stay here and raise a family with my wife. We only planned to stay for a couple of years when we came out here, but things worked out so well we couldn't leave. I am grateful for your support. Support you've given by listening, by calling in, contributing funny lines, telling incredible stories about your lives, and supporting our charitable ventures. It's because of you that I got to quiz Paul Stanley about old R&B songs when Paul and I were talking to him. And he got 4 out of 5 correct, which I thought was pretty good. Because of you, I got to throw out the first pitch at a Diamondbacks game, as did Paul at Chase Field. Got to bring my wife and kids on the field to sing the national anthem with listeners years ago. Because of you, I once introduced Steven Tyler to the then governor of Arizona, Janet Napolitano. I once introduced G. Gordon Liddy to Tommy Chong. Some of those references may be lost to some people here in the studio, but it was interesting. Because of you, Rob Halford from Judas Priest read the rejection letter he had gotten from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that morning. He did it 3 feet away from me. I got to play guitar on stage with Poison. I got to be the baseball announcer during Paradise by the Dashboard Light on stage with Meatloaf. Amazing stuff. And it was because of you that Paul and I got the credit for raising hundreds of thousands of dollars for charity when it was really you who did that. Thank you, listeners. And because of you, my wife and I were able to support our family in a way that we never dreamed of being able to. So thank you for all those things and more. Well, I want you to know that you got my best every single day, even up until the end here. I never phoned it in. I never treated a day like it didn't matter because you deserved more. That mindset came from my parents, the role models for my work ethic. And it would have dishonored what they taught me if I didn't show up every day on time, even if it was 3:45 a.m., prepared and consistently giving my best. After today, the next time I think of something really funny or see something really funny, I'll think, oh my God, that's going to be great to talk about on the air. And then I'll realize I'm not on the air anymore, that I don't have that outlet anymore. And that's going to hurt a little bit. It's going to be uncomfortable, but there's no growth without discomfort, and I do plan to keep growing and learning. It's entirely possible you're going to hear me again on a commercial or doing some little thing on the air. Hell, Paul and I talked about it this morning. It's possible I could miss this so badly I have to come back at some point in time. You never know about that kind of stuff. But it's very possible that you won't hear me again. And if you don't, just know that I have loved being a small part of your mornings. And I am fine because I have my family and I got my friends. And just know that I am grateful to all of you for helping me have a career and a life beyond what I ever pictured. So I'm going to wrap up here. You can applaud now because I know I've gone on for a long time. I thank you all for listening. Thank you very much for coming in.
12 minutes, Mark. 12 minutes.
I know.
Yeah, it's pretty
I figured
good.
it would be, I didn't even cry. So I figured it'd be a hell of a lot longer. Broke up a little bit. Okay, yeah. I never got wet on the cheeks, though. So, Listen, I don't have a favorite song. There are just too many songs. And people asked about, what I'm going to play last. So this is one of my favorite songs from probably my favorite band of all time. It's a positive song. It's a hopeful song. The guitar solos still thrill me. This is Blue Sky from the Allman Brothers, because that's what you are.